What's up, people? Let's address the Alibaba FUD problem. So I believe over the last few days, Alibaba has been tanking and nosediving from a good $210, $220 price range all the way to, I think the lowest of the candlestick yesterday was around $179. Heck, who even thought that it would even break below $180? So I've actually consolidated and written down some of the most common bear arguments surrounding all this entire China tech saga, and I'll be addressing them one by one. So please pardon me if I'm actually referencing from my iPad itself. But before I start, I think I have a very big disclaimer that I like to put forth. Number one, please don't come onto YouTube to get financial advice. A lot of us out there, regardless of whether is it content creators or people in the comment section below, trying to fearmonger or trying to encourage you to buy a certain type of stock. All of us have vested interests. Some of them are long Alibaba, some of them are short Alibaba. So by listening to people online, please take all of our opinions with a pinch of salt and try to make a rational decision. If you go around there and you start seeing people talk about, the democracy in Hong Kong is threatened, they're gonna invade Taiwan, they're gonna bomb or they're gonna use their nuclear weapons to Japan and try to create this entire fear climate, I really do not know what to say, and I'm speechless about it if you really believe in the entire narrative without really understanding the history, the politics, and how the Chinese government have made it very clear about what their baselines are regarding all these specific issues. So if you really wanted to believe them about issues on Japan, on Taiwan, on Hong Kong, please go ahead, I'm not stopping you. But please do not treat this as any investment advice, and do not just sell out of Alibaba just because you've seen these comments or you've seen these narratives being put forth. Secondly, I just wanted to give a shout out to a comment by Kevin. So he commented that, I bought more today, but the difference between this happening to a non-Chinese stock is I won't go all in on a Chinese stock like I potentially could on a non-Chinese stock. Find a limit you are willing to risk on Chinese stocks and stick to it. Mine is less than 20% exposure. And I think I haven't been emphasizing about this point heavily. I think my bullishness on China cannot be replicated and cannot be fed to all of you viewers out there. I'm extremely bullish of China because of my own conviction about how I trust the CCP, how I trust the entire system, and why I think they will be able to achieve their ambition of being the world leader in 2030 or 2040. And I know that it's quite a far stretch, and a lot of you might not be agreeable to this entire narrative and to this entire conviction that I have. And I fully understand. For those of you who really just want to look at Alibaba as a stock to swing trade or to really just be able to enjoy the upside, sure, go ahead, take my opinion with a pinch of salt. But I also haven't been emphasizing about this ability for you to stomach these different risks. I can just tell you that currently around 50 to 60% of my portfolio is in China. Am I a big risk taker? For a lot of you might think that I'm a big risk taker. But based on my own analysis and my risk profile, I don't think I am, because I'm extremely bullish of China itself. The entire country, the different companies in China, and how they are postulated to be one of the biggest global powers, and why I think the US will not have the capabilities to stop them. So I'd just like to take this time to really emphasize this point. Please find somewhere you're comfortable with. If let's say you already told yourself that you are only comfortable with 20, 25 or even 30% of your portfolio in China, please stop buying. Do not go in and say that, hey, Alibaba suddenly dropped to 150, 120, 100. Even though it's already 30% of my portfolio, let's just continue buying and buying and buying. Sooner or later, you'll see that 50, 60 or even 70% of your portfolio is in China. And when the entire market tanks and when a lot of all these stock tanks, you will not have the conviction to hold through because you're uncomfortable with this position in the first place. So that is just what I wanted to remind all of you. So before I start, I did create a Discord channel. So it's everything related to Alibaba. So for all you bulls and bears out there, you guys are all welcome to join this entire open community. I believe everybody right here is extremely friendly. And for those of you who want to put forth different arguments, you want to discuss, you want to dispute, or you want to even debate any certain kinds of issue, both in the US and China market, you are open to do so. I think everybody will be happy to listen to your viewpoint. So if you are interested, please click in the link in the description box down below to join the entire Discord server itself. On top of that, I've left my referral link for both Tiger and Moomoo brokers. They're essentially both a brokerage firm from China, and right now they're aggressively expanding in the entire world itself. So for those of you who are interested in getting an Apple share, I think the promotion runs till the first week of August. So for those of you who haven't get your free Apple share, what are you waiting for? If you would like more details regarding the entire promotion and referral rewards, please feel free to reach out to me on both the Discord server or just on the YouTube comment section down below. With that, let's get right into today's topic. Now, we have to make one thing very clear. All the discussions are around China and not Alibaba. So let's just address all the bear arguments one by one. Firstly, about this idea of China losing its mind. So a lot of people have been saying that, hey, they can force their regulations on all the different ad tech companies. wiping out billions of equities in the entire market itself. What is stopping them from reforming Alibaba? If you really want my honest opinion, what is stopping them from reforming Alibaba? Probably common sense. I think the entire idea and the narrative that's put forth by a lot of all this mainstream media and people that hold their own opinion do not really understand what the Chinese government is trying to do. If you have been looking at the different policies that they've been undertaking over the last 5 years, they have always been looking at the greater good or the common good for the country people, and it has been seen and demonstrated in multiple ways. Firstly, in this entire saga, it started off with the NIPO, where they cancelled and pulled the plug on the 11th hour. And why did they do so? I have been explaining and I'll explain again. The entire finance industry is the backbone of every single country. Nobody can and nobody will give up their finance autonomy to private companies. To give you an example, look at the 2008 financial crisis. What happened to all the banks when they start lending out of framework? When people are going crazy on leverage? Look at what happened. And China being China and CCP being CCP, they are extremely cautious in all the decisions because they know that the legitimacy of the party is constantly being threatened. And a lot of all these people in China, you might think that they're dumb, you might think that, 1.4 billion, why do they still allow an authoritarian government and why not fight for freedom, fight for democracy? I can tell you that out of the 1.4 billion population in China, they're not stupid people. If you believe in the wisdom of crowds in the stock market, why do you not believe in the wisdom of crowds of the China population? Do you really think that a lot of them are stupid people? They do not know how to value their freedom, they do not know how to value their rights? Of course there will be a revolution, or of course there will be something that's going on if the CCP go rogue. They're not dumb people, and I believe we are all not dumb people. So in this entire idea and narrative of saying that, hey, the Chinese people do not know how to fight for their rights, let us help them fight for their rights. Think about it, how stupid does it sound? That's the first point. Second point is, if there's no regulator stepping in, what do you think will happen with all the different frivolous lending? Will there be a repeat in the 2008 crisis? I really do not know. But I really just wanted to say that in order for CCP to consolidate its powers and in order for them to have a sustainable growth moving forward in the next 10 years, they will have to ensure that the entire financial engineering of the country is being well managed and not just allow any random Tom, Dick and Harry. Even though you might say that, hey, Ant Financial Group is not any Tom, Dick and Harry. But ultimately, it's still a private company without national interests. So that's the second point. Moving on, we come into the Didi scandal, where there's this entire narrative behind data leakages and alleged selling of data. Data is the commodity of the 21st century, and you know that when you look at other countries, where you look at the US cracking down on Facebook, on Apple, on being very hard on consumer privacy and consumer protection. What the CCP is essentially doing is just learning and taking the lessons they deciphered from overseas counterpart and implementing it before they become too big to fail or become too big to regulate. So I don't really see what's the problem or issue with that. Thirdly, coming into the entire crackdown on the ag tech companies. Sure, a lot of people might say that it's too harsh. A lot of all these different educators or tutors or whoever that's in the entire industry will be heavily affected. Essentially, equities worth billions of dollars are wiped out overnight. On top of that, a lot of people have lost their jobs as well. I believe all these arguments are valid, but if you were to really look at it from a long-term horizon, I think they needed to step in much earlier before things started spiraling out of control. So it's a very subjective viewpoint on when they should do it and how they should do it. But I guess every government is answerable to their population, and they see this entire private tutoring culture as a very toxic one that will probably harm the futures of the generations. So they decided to step in. What's wrong with that? Back to the idea of Alibaba. Why do you think they'll stop e-commerce and Alibaba ultimately? Because they're spending too much? I think there are a lot of ways to solve this entire e-commerce issue. If people really happen to be lifted out of the poverty cycle and they suddenly get a lot of money in their bank and they decide to spend it all, there are definitely a lot more policies out there that they can implement. For example, a forced savings system, like a 401k or like a CPF system in Singapore. So in my humble opinion, if I touch my heart and I ask myself, do I really think that there's a massive amount of headwind for the entire e-commerce sector? I honestly don't think so. But for those of you who are saying that it's an all-out murder and trying to kill all the different Chinese companies, so be it. If you don't want to be in this journey anymore, please feel free to leave. Now, to the second most common bear argument. This entire sell-off is not emotional. People are just recognizing the risk of all the different Chinese stocks. Funny enough, I think this entire fear uncertainty doubt between all the different Chinese stocks right now is definitely emotionally driven. I do not know why people can still believe that it's not emotionally driven. And back onto this idea of, people are finally realizing the risk of all the different Chinese stocks. Some of you might argue that, oh, people have been complacent, thinking that the Chinese government has been keeping their promise. And right now, once they started cracking down, people realize that the Chinese Communist Party is not what they claim out to be. I really don't understand this perspective. You either believe in the Chinese Communist Party about them honoring their word, or you don't believe. What do you mean by people suddenly recognizing this fact? Hopefully, most of you investors currently holding Chinese stocks have already evaluated the position and know of the different kinds of risk that is tagged onto all these different Chinese stocks. For those of you who believe in them, for those of you who believe in the CCP delivering on their promise, then why are you even selling out? You should be doubling down. For those of you who do not even believe them in the first place, why are you even in the stock? Get out of the stock. I really don't understand the point of view where, oh, there might be a 60% probability that the CCP is gonna keep to their word and a 40% probability that they might not be. Even all those different analysts, people that are experts in the US-China relationship, they don't even dare to give a probability of what's gonna happen and what's not gonna happen. Who are you to even judge? When people start saying that, oh, it's a 70% chance they'll get delisted, a 30% chance they won't get delisted, where do you even get the number from? Pulling it out from your ass? I really can't wrap my head around this idea of tagging a different probability on different circumstances or scenarios happening. Sure, I know a lot of you guys want that sense of security. A lot of you feel that, hey, if there are a lot of people saying that there might be a 70% chance of it not getting delisted, you might be able to console yourself. Honestly, I do not buy into that argument. I only ask myself two different questions. Number one, do I think China will become one of the most influential countries in the coming 10 years? And by extension, will the CCP or Chairman Xi or whoever that's gonna take over his position in the entire highest office itself, will he be able to deliver his promise? If yes, number two, is Alibaba a good company? Because if China really managed to benefit from this entire revolution and this entire ability to deliver, will the underlying company, which is Alibaba in this case, able to deliver to their promise as well? If both answers to the question is yes, then I don't even see a problem. Regardless of whether is it delisting or not delisting, converting or not converting, whether is it a VIE structure or not, why do they even matter to me? This entire emotional driven sell-off, it's just more buying opportunities, to be honest. Now, the third most common bear arguments that come up again and again and again, which is delisting versus invalidating the entire VIE structure. For those of you who haven't watched the video when I talked about extensively regarding these two concepts, please go and look at the two main problems Alibaba has right now. I'll also link the video in the description box below. I do have to address about this entire delisting issue, and in my previous video, I did say that there's a 50-50 chance. And see, I also used the number to quantify, because 50-50 actually don't mean anything at all. A 50-50 chance just means that anything can happen and who knows what's gonna happen. But I would like to qualify that if there really is a delisting event that's gonna happen to all the different Chinese stocks, look back at past records. I believe a lot of you still remember about Luckin Coffee, which is the Starbucks of China, where they had a lot of accounting frauds and essentially a lot of euphoria around the entire company itself. At its high, it was around $50. And once the fraud was exposed to all the different people and investors out there, the stock essentially nosedived all the way to $1 USD. And after the delisting, because of the fraudulent history, do you know what price is Luckin Coffee trading at right now on the OTC market? Because it was delisted from the actual exchange itself. It's trading at $10 US. $1 to $10. That's a 10x opportunity after delisting from the US exchange itself. So sure, Luckin Coffee isn't the best example because it's a fraudulent company. I'm not insinuating that Alibaba is a fraudulent company anyway, but in the event of really a delisting, they can continue trading on the OTC market. And let's say if the US regulators really ban them from the entire OTC market, they are still able to migrate back to their normal homegrown market, which is the Hong Kong market. And as we said, buying a stock of a company is buying the business. If you believe in the business, you believe in the country, you believe in the entire narrative, what are you afraid of? Just continue buying if you're comfortable. Now, I would just like to address the last bear argument, where a lot of investors actually do commit to this fallacy, which is a slippery slope argument. Whatever the US is doing is right, and whatever China is doing is wrong. I think this entire idea is more of a self-coping mechanism, where you look at the US and you see them printing trillions and trillions of dollars, where you see the entire market continue reaching all-time highs, and then you look over to the China markets, and then you look at them continuously cracking down. So whatever the US is doing is right, whatever the China is doing is wrong. Right now, it might be too early to tell, but really have a critical perspective and stop convincing yourself that everything is alright. So don't think that because the US market has been experiencing 100, 200 years of prosperity means that they will be able to continue the 100 years of prosperity. And don't think that because China started off from a bad position, they started off with a communist regime, moving forward, they will go back to their roots and become a communist regime again. I think as investors, you have to take everything with a pinch of salt and go ahead with your own conviction. Do your own research, keep your head down and just invest. If nothing changed, what are you worried about? So this video is a little bit more ranty than usual. I think I just really wanted to address all the different FUD problems surrounding all the different Chinese stocks. So if you would like to hear me rant more, please leave in the comment section down below and of course smash the like button. And for those of you who still disagree, if you have better arguments to come out to rebut me, please feel free to leave in the comments below as well. I love to hear your viewpoint and opinions. So before I end off this video, I just wanted to give you my perspective, my opinion, and ultimately why you even clicked into this video. So I have two quotes that I kinda distilled from all this entire learning of this crashing of China market. Number one, I'm not scared of an iron fist government, I'm scared of an incompetent one. Number two, if you cannot stomach a 30, 40 or 50% drop in your portfolio, what makes you think you are deserving of a 300, 400 or 500% return on your portfolio? And I'll just briefly explain the origination of the two quotes. An iron-fisted government can be the likes of the early days of Singapore or current, and looking at the current context of the Chinese government. Honestly speaking, it's never about the history, the structure, or the bureaucracy of the government. It's always about the people in governance. As long as we have good people in government, we will have a good country. I'm more afraid of a good governance system, but we always and consistently elect trash people into government office. Secondly, about the idea of stomaching risk and enjoying the upside. I would just like to give you an example of Tesla, and one of the people that I respect in the entire YouTube space. For those of you who know his Chicken Genius Singapore, he held Tesla stock at $200 pre-split. If you had the mindset of trying to swing Tesla stock or thinking that, hey, I'm in here just for a quick buck, when Tesla went to 300, when Tesla went to 400, or when Tesla went to 800, you essentially 2x, 4x or even 8x your money. Do you think you would have sold out of Tesla if you didn't have the CGS conviction? Of course you would. Who didn't want to take profit on a 100, 200% return on your money? But look at where Tesla is at right now, $2,400 pre-split. It's a 12x from the $200 entry price. So think about it, if you're unable to weather the downtime of your portfolio, what makes you think you're deserving and what makes you think you have the fortitude to hold on to the stock when it appreciates 100, 200%? Keep your eyes on the price, $1,000 in 2030. I'll come back to you again. With that, I'll see you in the next video, but more importantly, I'll see you on the moon. Goodbye!